Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Kyle, and in this episode, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why I chose to invest $80,000 in Bitcoin and a couple other cryptocurrencies as well, but mainly Bitcoin. I want to talk about a little bit about what my experience with it is, what the history of Bitcoin actually is, and where I think it's going, and I'm going to talk and give some examples on some real life smart people and some articles that have been written very recently into why I chose this. So before we get into this, I want you to do one quick thing for me. Go down and hit the like button below until it turns blue because it helps with the YouTube algorithm, as well as subscribe if you have not done so already, and hit the notification bell so you get notifications every time I post a new video, as well as follow me on Instagram. I post there pretty much daily, so you will get other aspects of my life as well. Okay, so quick history on my experience with Bitcoin. Right around 2017, going into 2018 holiday season, there were some jokes going around. Everybody was talking about Bitcoin, and a couple of my friends told me about it, and they had mentioned that it went from $1,000 to $20,000 before crashing down again. I had no clue what a Bitcoin was. I remember jokes around this time. People would always mention, hey, can you buy this with Bitcoin? Or do you accept Bitcoin? And everybody would laugh, and it'd be this thing. And nobody really knew what it was. I didn't know what it was. I still am trying to know what it is. But regardless, at this time, it went from about $1,000 that year to $20,000 per Bitcoin before crashing down and stopping around the, I think, $6,000 mark. So it went straight incline to a big drop. Well, so here was my first experience with it. And this is a chart showing that drop going from about $1,000 earlier that year in 2017 to $20,000 back down to about $7,000 before it stopped and bottomed out at that time. Now, a couple of my friends bought into it, and they doubled their money or made some good money because it rallied up to about $12,000 before starting to crash down again. I have to say that during this time, I needed to see what this was all about. I decided to invest a little bit of money. I really think it was only half a Bitcoin at this time. I just wanted to see if it popped up again. It hit to $20,000 once. Why couldn't it go to $20,000 again? I still didn't know about it, but I wanted to do some digging, do some research, and find out and invest a little bit of money. So this is what really piqued my interest. How could something go from about $1,000 to essentially $20,000 of value in the same year? I mean, if you would go back to even 2014 to 2016, you can find this hovering all from in between about $250 a Bitcoin to about $700 a Bitcoin. So essentially, if you had invested about $5,000 on May 31st of 2015, when it was $230 per Bitcoin, that would be roughly 21 Bitcoins, and you would have essentially $434,000 at the time of its height of $20,000 per Bitcoin. I mean, it's $500,000 from a $5,000 investment. So when I got invested in it, I invested about maybe $6,000. It was the price of one Bitcoin or something. It went up to 8,500 or so before it started coming back down. And about a year later, in December of 2018, going into 2019, I believe it was down to about 3,500 per Bitcoin. So I essentially lost half my money. But whatever, I wasn't going to sell out a loss. I decided to hold on to it and just keep peeking in and keeping track of this. So I think also during this time, I had bought in here and there, little by little, as it would dip and go down, because I essentially would dollar cost average my price of Bitcoin down, and I'd eventually work up to about one full Bitcoin or two Bitcoins, and it would now be about $5,000 per Bitcoin I paid. So I dollar cost average it at this time. Okay, so that was my history with Bitcoin. So quickly, we're going to go over what is Bitcoin? What's the definition? What's the history of it? Where did it come into existence? So in August of 2008, a domain registered bitcoin.org was made. And later that year, on October 31st, a letter went out. It was a paper authored by a Satoshi Nakamoto. He titled this Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Something built on trust, where you were able to pay peer-to-peer, and it was totally trustworthy, that you could measure this. You could there were only a finite amount of these Bitcoins available, and you would have to mine them. And basically, the first Bitcoin that was mined It came into existence by Satoshi Nakamoto mining this, and it was the genesis of the block of Bitcoin, block number 0, which had a reward of 50 Bitcoins. Embedded in this Coinbase of the block was the text from the Times, 3 January 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. So essentially, the text refers to a Times, a headline in the Times on January 3rd, 2009, when basically the whole banking structure and this financial crash was happening. So this came out of that time. This system, it was developed before. There was cryptocurrencies and all that stuff developed before, and alternate versions of it. But this really started to come into existence at this time. I'm going to read an exact definition quickly from Wikipedia on what this is. The definition of a Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, a digital asset designed to work as a medium of exchange that uses cryptography to control its creation and management rather than relying on central authorities. It was invented and implemented by the presumed pseudonym, whatever that is, Satoshi Nakamoto, who integrated many existing ideas from the cypherpunk community. Over the course of Bitcoin's history, it has undergone rapid growth to become a significant currency both on and offline. From the mid-2010s, some businesses began accepting Bitcoin in addition to traditional currencies. This is actually a very funny little thing that I found out too. The value of the first Bitcoin transactions were negotiated by individuals on the Bitcoin forum, with one notable transaction of 10,000 Bitcoins used to indirectly purchase 2 pizzas delivered by Papa John's. Now, I did the math on this. 10,000 Bitcoins would equate to about $130 million in today's price. In today's $13,000 Bitcoin price, not even at the top. So that's ridiculous. $130 million for 2 pizzas. But hey, who knew? Okay, now let's get into it. Where is Bitcoin going? And why did I invest a total sum amount of $80,000 over the course of this couple year time? Okay, so I had about $50,000 in total invested up until about 2 weeks ago. And what I was doing before that was I would take a note, I would see where it was going, I would see where it was trending. And, there was times, especially during this last crash of March, where the stock market completely crashed and the price of Bitcoin went down to $3,500. Now, I did not buy it at that price, but then it slowly crept up to about $5,000. It rebounded quickly, and I would buy in maybe around $7,000, $8,000. I'd buy some more, and I saw that it was holding pretty stable at this time, and it was on the trend upward. But on 10/21/2020, something pretty incredible happened in my mind. I have seen headlines from PayPal that the CEO, Dan Schulman, had accepted to have Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies on the PayPal site. Now, this enormous company, PayPal, was accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin on its site to be able to have people to buy, hold, and sell cryptocurrencies. So PayPal at the time was awarded what was known as a BIT license. And CEO Dan Schulman went on record by saying the shift to digital currencies was inevitable. Now, I think that this is great news, not just for PayPal, but for cryptocurrencies in general, because of the sheer exposure it gives them onto this enormous site that is rapidly growing. PayPal is a company that is rapidly growing, especially in today's atmosphere with the shift to more digital and online payments. And famous micro-strategist Raoul Pal, in an article which is right here, says that his bullish statement that Bitcoin is going to come into an enormous wall of money soon. An enormous wall of money soon is coming into Bitcoin, and that his statement is that it will be worth $1 million within 5 years. And other articles from Forbes saying how the stock market falters, Bitcoin remains steady. And according to digital asset manager Grayscale surveys that more than half of US investors are interested in investing in Bitcoin. In that same article, Grayscale also suggests that Bitcoin is on its way to mainstream adoption, which is huge among US investors. There's even other articles suggesting that Bitcoin is becoming more of an asset to hold and buy and hold instead of a tradable asset, and it's becoming cryptocurrency's answer to wine, whiskey, and watches. And finally, in an article from CNBC with famous investor Paul Tudor Jones, who runs Tudor Investment Corp, he has gone on the record saying that he likes Bitcoin more than ever, just recently saying this, and that he thinks we are in the first inning with a long way to go with Bitcoin. He even suggests that this is more of an inflation trade than anything, than things like gold, which Bitcoin has been related to gold and compared to gold recently, and it's better than a investment trade and an inflation trade than gold. So when I heard about the PayPal thing, I just had to go in and dump some more money in because I feel like there is a definite momentum with the upswing right now. And in fact, it did go from about 11,000 to new highs of mid 12,000s per Bitcoin that day, and has since actually risen to, I think it hit about 13,700 today, which is on Tuesday, October 27th. I'll probably get this video out tomorrow, but as of right now, it hit an all-time, or a new high today, not an all-time high, but it's on its momentum up. Now, this is also coming during a time where the stock market is extremely volatile right now. The stock market does not like uncertainty, and with the election coming up, with with tech being at an all-time high right now, with you name it. There's so much with the lack of vaccines, with the stimulus talks, with everything. The stock market is faltering right now. It's very volatile, and during all this time, Bitcoin is holding steady and holding solid. Now, also another bonus, which has just happened this year in 2020, was the Bitcoin halving, where every 4 years this happens, where less and less Bitcoins are able to be mined. And so there's a finite amount of these. And what happens with the finite amount? The value just goes up. It's like the finite amount of land. Land value just goes up. Okay, so all that being said, still in summary, what do I think? I think Bitcoin is still a very speculative investment. There are a lot safer investments. It could very well go to zero. However, I don't really feel like it will at this point. It's recovered very nicely on a couple occasions. So there are very smart people that are very bullish on this, and I think it's here to stay. I'm willing to invest in it because I think there's much more of an upside. I do think there are more stable and safe investments in companies in the US that are going to be around forever. And but I just feel like that at this point, it's a pretty safe investment. I'm willing to go there, and I would just not go there with anything you can't afford to lose. So that's my take on the whole thing. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so do not sue me if you do invest in Bitcoin and it does go to zero. However, if you do invest in Bitcoin and it goes to $1 million, feel free to throw me something. Feel free to say, hey, Kyle, I saw your video. That's why I invested. But that would be great with me. Also, you don't have to buy one full Bitcoin. Don't feel like you have to invest $13,000, which is today's price, and buy a whole Bitcoin. You can break these down to any dollar amount. So you could invest $100 today in Bitcoin, and it'll just go up if the price of Bitcoin goes up tomorrow. So you don't have to do that. You don't have to invest a full amount. You don't have to invest a lot right off the bat. Hang out, invest a little, dollar cost average your way in if you want to, but I would suggest taking a look and checking it out. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, if you do make it to the end of the video, which you did, check out and hit the like button. That I would appreciate it very greatly. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. And also subscribe if you have not done so already, and hit the notification bell so you will get notifications every time I post a new video, as well as follow me on Instagram. I post there pretty much daily. You will get other aspects of my life as well. Guys, feel free to comment on this, like this. reply to this. Let me know what you think. If you think I'm an idiot, tell me. I want to know. And I really appreciate it, guys. Until next time, take care.